We are roughly 25 seconds away from the start of a new league year. Every trade that we've told you about, all of those deals become official at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Anybody who was a free agent, we told you they have a new deal with a new team. Those deals can be signed right now.
The new league year is just over a month old, and it's been a busy one for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Re-signing key players, bringing in some new faces, and saying goodbye to familiar ones. It's all part of the process. As the weather gets warmer, the off-season grind for current players is heating up, and the search for the game's future stars is hitting a boiling point. It's the countdown to the NFL Draft, and with General Manager Kevin Colbert and head coach Mike Tomlin's recently signed contract extensions, the rest of the scouts, coaches, and staff are ready to make decisions on who will be the next to wear the black and gold.
Hey, you know what time it is?
The City of Champions.
And he's going to get sacked. Let's go! Touchdown Steelers.
The standard is the standard.
How teams are getting prepared to go on the clock in 2021 is different than in previous years. Many college programs had abbreviated seasons, access was limited, and there were no workouts at the scouting combine, taking away key touch points that scouts and coaches use to see and meet players firsthand. But one element of the annual scouting process did continue: pro days. Even with limited attendance and safety measures in place, coaches, GMs, and scouts have traveled across the country visiting college campuses to get invaluable live looks at prospects. Kelvin, one of the Steelers' area scouts who has been in attendance at pro days this spring, has adjusted and adjusted again how he has done his part to prepare the Steelers for the last two drafts.
I was actually in Colorado. This was last year. The day before the pro day, we had our conference call and they pulled us off the road. They said, everyone change your flight, go home. So I didn't attend any pro days last year. Now we did have a full combine. We was about 3/4 of the way there. And then that last quarter, that's an important quarter of it, was chopped off.
When the scouts were sent home, it meant that Fisher got to spend more time where he grew up, which happens to be right here in Pittsburgh.
I'm originally from Aliquippa, Ambridge area. I've been a diehard Steelers fan all my life. I'm an area scout, and I did that for 8 years, and then I left and went to Buffalo for 5 years as a director, and then I came back to Pittsburgh. I started out, I was at Arizona State football development. I didn't know much about the scouting part of it. When I played in college, I used to see a bunch of scouts at practice every day. So when I was at Arizona State, I met with all the scouts that would come in. I would give them background information on the players. And I kind of got to know what it was about at that time. So I sent my resume out to all 32 teams. And Kevin Colbert saw my resume and brought me in for an interview and then hired me.
Being a former player and now a veteran scout, Fisher brings a unique eye to the Steelers' talent evaluation process. And in 2021, he had to focus his efforts much differently with changes to the NFL Combine.
There are going to be no in-person workouts in Indianapolis for scouts. Obviously, a significant change because of COVID-19. What is going to happen is the NFL is going to lean on pro days.
This year, the front end was cut off and then the back end is given to us. You know, you're just adjusting on the move all the time.
While some teams have tried to close the gap by conducting virtual interviews with prospects and reviewing tape remotely from their team facilities, pro days have been a step towards normalcy for the scouts, and especially Fisher, who traveled thousands of miles to visit 14 pro days this spring.
Losing the combines, you lose a lot. Because interviews, actual workouts, interacting with the players, with the pro days, you can gain all of that back. Everyone had a mask on, everyone's, obeying the rules. The players are off limit, like as far as dinner. And I know Kelvin and Coach Tomlin loves taking those guys out to dinner to get a feel for who they are. And at the pro day, I usually watch the interaction of the players with their teammates. Who's pushing who's the top dog, who's the leader. You know, you get to chat with them a little bit during the workout, you know, maybe walking from the vertical and broad jump to the indoor facility. So as you're walking, you can kind of chat with them to get a little bit of information or get as much information you need. You can interview the players if they allow you. It's so many little different things that I look for. When you ask a question, if it's something really good, how their eyes light up, you know. If you ask a question that's difficult, you know, do they look down? Do they put their head down? You know, they look you straight in the eye. But I've sat in on Zoom calls so far with the players, you can still get a feel for who they are and what they are. So the IT guys did a great job with that, just having the Zoom set up, you know, not having any. We went through our meetings last year, and I don't think we had one hiccup through the whole time. And it was all new. We didn't have any problem getting any film, watching film. That was set up. I just really think everyone adjusted to this pandemic, and everyone made the proper changes for us to be successful.
Just as talent evaluators have changed the way they scout, some players have employed different tactics to get noticed. Just ask Kevin Dotson. After pro days were canceled in 2020, prospects had to get creative on how they could train and get seen. After Dotson's now famous truck workout went viral, he found himself on the receiving end of a Coach Tomlin phone call during the 2020 draft.
Kevin Dotson, how you doing?
It was one of those things where it was just the circumstances I was in. You know, I had no weight room. Every weight room was closed because COVID was really ramping up at that time. So no weight rooms, no gyms, nothing. So I'm just finding everything to move, push, pull, push-ups in every different position I can, sit-ups, you know. I didn't really do it for that type of, you know, try to get viral type thing.
Now 1 year later, Dotson's life has changed considerably. He's gone from a day 3 selection to a player who enters his second NFL season, having gained valuable playing experience and a new mindset.
Now it's a way less stressful life than I was, you know, I started feeling once I was going through the draft process. I feel more grown because I'm living by myself. I have to make every decision by myself. It's not a thing that it just make a routine. I have to make the routine myself. You know, it makes me feel more adult.
His maturation was accelerated in week 2 of the 2020 season when he was called up to start at right guard and help lead the Steelers to a home victory over the Broncos.
The night before, I got nervous. Somebody told me once you're in the game, you're no longer a rookie. You just have to take advantage of the opportunity it was given me.
Following the game, Ben Roethlisberger gave him the game ball for his efforts, and that ball currently lives with Dotson's father, who has been a lifelong Steelers fan. But the experience of preparing for and then playing in an NFL game is something that stays with him.
Being an offensive lineman, you don't expect really that much recognition, and really, you know, so to get it was a great feeling, and then for it to be my first game, it meant a lot to me, and it kind of carried me through the season, knowing like one of the beginning stages of me thinking that I belong. You know, you can go against somebody in practice all day, but once a person is in their game mode, it's kind of a different type of feel. I can go against two of those guys every day, and I know that they're going hard and they're super hard to block, but I know if I went against them in the game, it would be 2 times harder because I know that they're going full out and they have people to back them up so they can go harder and stuff like that.
Dotson went on to play in 13 games his rookie year, including 3 more starts. He looks to be an important part of the Steelers' offensive line group that has seen many new faces and names come into the mix over the last 2 seasons. Adrian Klemm isn't a new face, but he does have a new role. Originally hired as assistant offensive line coach in 2019, Klemm was promoted to the offensive line coach earlier this offseason. He knows that developing young players like Dotson is critical to the group's success.
Drill work to organizational skills, or even things off the field in terms of how to help develop young men. Before coming into it as a coach at this level, I thought that was something that you focus on more in college and NFL, but it's the same thing here. I think that's one of the things that's the most difficult for young guys when they come to the league is the transition.
The offensive line is a group that will be relied upon heavily to help improve the Steelers' offensive attack in 2021. Part of that challenge is helping to rebuild a running game that statistically finished last in the NFL in 2020.
We struggled a little bit last year. Obviously, we didn't do as well as we'd like to the last few years, but one of the things we want to really focus on is just being physical, bringing a physical aspect to the game back, playing with passion, communicating, getting guys in the right spots, not doing too much, but doing enough to keep the defense off balance. But it's a new group, and it's a fresh start, and the offense is going to change in some ways, and it's an opportunity for us to put our fingerprint on it.
Klemm's journey in professional football started as a first-round draft selection of the New England Patriots in 2000. He completed his playing career in 2006 and then had stints as a coach in the college game. He then joined the Steelers coaching staff and is now looking to impress a style and an attitude with his players that he learned throughout his career in football.
The players are a reflection of us in terms of coaches in each room. And Chris Morgan, the other offensive line coach, we have the same mindset. We want to develop a culture that's based off of physical play. And that's what this organization has been based off, whether it's offense or defense. I remember being a player, you knew going into the week, it was Monday or Tuesday, that it was going to be a hell of a week in practice. We're wearing pads the whole week and all that because, we're getting down on Sunday. And I wanted to get back to that for our group. That when we put on film, we don't need to go in talking about how physical we're going to be. No one's asking us questions if we can run the ball and all that. Like our film speaks for itself. I like to get to that point sooner than later, and I think we can, with the type of guys that we have here now, and hopefully the guys that we'll bring to it, but more than anything, the culture that we have here, getting back to the roots of that, and just putting the emphasis on that in terms of physical play and finish, and just a nasty disposition every single play.
The Steelers' culture, physical play, and developing young men are components that Klemm and every coach on staff knows will help the team to be successful. And it starts at the top with leadership from Coach Tomlin.
Everybody knows about his wins and all those things, but I think more than anything, it's just he's a solid individual. He's a good man and just kind of a man of his word. Everything that I heard about him before is, from his former players is true, and just, he's demanding, but he's fair. It's just a unique work environment. If I ever got the opportunity to be a head coach one day, I'd like to say I try to mimic or emulate some of the things that he's done, because I think it's, when you create a working environment like that, it makes people want to work harder, and they're more passionate about it because they're invested and they feel like you're invested in them. It's been a great experience so far, and he's one of the many reasons why.
And in 1 week, the newest crop of young men will find out that Pittsburgh is the next step of their football journey under the guidance of Tomlin and his staff. The draft is another part of the process for the Steelers, and as the summer nears and the heavy lifting is set to begin, the regular season doesn't seem too far away.